Welcome everybody to Haelan House's educational series. This one is on nutrition. Haelan House is about healing the root cause and effects of trauma, creating health, resilience, and wholeness. And so these educational sessions help us meet that mission by offering you different speakers who offer different tools for you to heal from trauma. And we cover the 6 areas of physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, and nutritional parts of your life that can be affected by trauma. And so working in those different areas with nutrition, for example, can help helping you through that healing trauma process. So today we have, I'm going to pass you over to Maria, and she is going to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Cheryl. Hello, everyone. This is Maria, and the topic for this month is healing trauma through nutrition, exploring what it means to be vegan, whole food, plant-based. And so so nutrition is one area of health that we have control over. What we put into our bodies is an essential part of whole health. If you are what you eat, what are you right now? Are you weakened, over, or underweight because you are putting it into your gut? Do you feel powerful, clean, vibrant due to the fresh, nutritious, and energizing foods you take in? Is part of what we will be talking about today with our presenter, Sunny Massey, and our featured speaker. And just to give you a little bit of her background, she's an advocate, facilitator, and an Imagineer. She was born to a number of unfortunate circumstances. She lost her father in Vietnam at the age 4, and at the same time, her teen mother's care and support when she went to work, and not for lack of money. So she basically raised herself her entire life, nor does her story neatly end there. But she will elaborate on more of the details, I assume, in this talk. Anyway, she wants to, excuse me, she is an old soul, and she wants to let everyone know that having a more nutritious, whole-based, and vegan lifestyle can change your ways and make you feel more energized and empowered. She has been on her life has been one wild ride after another. In other words, a very long hero's journey with many transformations along the way. For years, her worldview was one that saw it as a cruel and hostile place, a battlefield, she used to call it. She was a victim of multiple wrongdoings and suffered from disenfranchised grief and complex trauma. It took her most of her adult life to heal. While her brain and heart may have completely healed, she believes that now that I'm quite a lot improved one's life and changed one's mindset, living as joyfully and radiantly as she does today. She wants you to know her life experiences have led her to this, to adapting the insatiable appetite for learning and adapting everything she's learned. She's a big fan of pushing herself to always stay open, be curious, and choose love, while she uses her personal stories and enjoy sharing with them, that for the benefit for others to learn. And she always wants to inspire hope and remind everyone that they are not powerless. It is her greatest desire to be of service to humanity and this planet, and to fulfill her soul's mission. We are happy to have Sunny here. So thank you, Sunny, and it's your turn.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for having me. So it's a big topic to explore veganism, and it took me a little bit to kind of rein that in and say, well, where do we start and how do we approach this topic? And there's a lot of conflicting opinions and ideas and whatnot out there, and I am tenacious about my sifting through and sorting out what I think is getting to the root of something, you know, and really figuring out what's most important. So anyways, what I did was I created a PowerPoint just to keep myself on track. And because it's going to be really easy for me to get distracted and go off on tangents, and I have very tangible thinking, so doesn't always work out so good for me to not have some talking points. I see here where I have screen share, so give me just a minute and I'll launch my, let's see, hang on one second here. Okay. Okay. Is everybody able to hear me still? And are you able to see the screen? Okay. Let's see, I'm going to minimize something here. Okay, so this is just my disclaimer that basically says that I'm not a registered dietitian or anybody in the medical field, and pretty much everything, well, everything that I'm going to show you today is verifiable and something that you can also, you know, fact checked. So I try to be funny once in a while, but it's kind of like, well, who am I and why would you want to listen to me? And my belief is that, you know, experience is one of the best teachers, really. And I personally have had, like I said, a wild ride to this point in my life. And I've jumped down many, many rabbit holes in order to learn and grow and develop myself, because I didn't really truly have the guidance and, you know, parenting that I probably would have benefited from and appreciated in my life. So with that said, I think the question that we're asking today is, why on earth would you ever want to go vegan or whole foods plant-based? And it's really true that there's a lot of harassment and a lot of mockery and joking and, you know, things that happen when you do start to go vegan. It's difficult for people to see you take a position that, you know, they themselves have not come to. And so, you know, they feel like you're pulling yourself out of the tribe, so to speak. There's lots of reasons, you know, why people make jokes at vegans or about vegans, but I'm just acknowledging the fact that it's real, it happens out there, and sometimes it feels like social suicide. I think it's getting better, and I'm hopeful. And as we move through these slides in this presentation, it might give you the courage and also the confidence to know that it doesn't matter what the world says or you know, makes fun of you about, that you got to do what's right for you. And hopefully that will be some different decisions after this this presentation. Anyways, the way that I've always approached things is, you know, you start at the 30,000 foot view and you say, okay, well, what's going on here? And, you know, what are the, you know, the big obvious things. And on the left-hand side of the screen where you see the green triangle and it says personal health, environment, and then animal welfare and ethics. That to me is like the 30,000 foot view. There are three key factors that are really of concern as it pertains to veganism. And there's tremendous information that I could share on all three of those points. But today, as it pertains to, you know, why you personally would want to go vegan, it's going to be your health. I mean, you're going to just dial it right down to, well, how does this affect me? And when you look at your health, are you able to see my my arrow or my cursor going around here? Apparently not. I can't hear you.
Oh, yes, yes, we can, Sunny.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so when I say there's a trifecta of motivation or choice points, and what you believe is the most important in your life, you'll take action on. That's how it works. And so if we say, okay, we're not going to look at the environment, we're not going to look at the animal welfare today, but we're going to look at personal health. And then we say, well, okay, what is it about personal health that's going to be so important? Like, which one is the priority? You know, is it your gut? Is it your brain? Is it your heart? You know, and where do we get all of the facts? And who do we listen to? So I have a feeling that's overlapping there, but okay. So it started out like that for me as well. Excuse me just one moment here. I need to check something. Yeah, okay. You know, it was kind of this showdown between, you know, the heart and the brain. And on May 28th of 2018, I had a left temporal lobe aneurysm, and I was lucky to survive it. And coming out of that experience, I was told basically that's a vascular event, and if it can happen like it did, it can happen anywhere in your body at any given time, and it can happen again, is basically what I was told. I had to look really hard at my personal health and what was I going to give priority to. And it didn't matter what the brain was saying. It kind of was like, well, my heart is the one that is, I don't know how to say this. Again, I have clunky stories.
It's all good.
Yeah, it was kind of like, we have this showdown always going on between the brain and the heart, and ultimately the brain wins briefly in that it decides what goes into your mouth is what I'm getting at. And it all dials down to, you know, nutrition and, you know, what comes into your gut, and what is it is it good for you, or is it toxic to you, and what does it do? And so I have another question. I'm sorry to interrupt or stop my thing here. Do you see this screen share thing down here over the writing at the bottom there?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I was very confused at who do I listen to? Is it the gut people? Is it the brain people? Is it the heart people? And how do I make a huge difference in my health, like immediately? And you know, just happy to have survived that aneurysm. So again, my clunky little story is that on May 28th, after the aneurysm, I went vegan, and the end result of doing that was it improved my white blood count, which meant that I no longer had inflammation in my blood, which I had had for 5 years going, 5 years straight. I had gone to the labs every 3 months to do blood draws, and I always had low white blood count. I was absolutely a candidate for an unknown blood disease that they were about ready to send me to the Oregon Health Sciences and start looking for Hodgkin's lymphoma and leukemia. Not only did it improve my white blood counts, I was on thyroid medication, and my hair was thinning, and you know, just all the other low energy stuff that goes along with thyroid problems. I no longer take thyroid medication. My thyroid is restored, or say it's healthy. You know, it's not like you grow back your thyroid, but you actually sustain the one that you have. And my hypertension has pretty much gone away. I mean, I don't have near the hypertension that I used to. Yes, I can get myself stressed out, and then I have to, you know, meditate and take care of myself. But for the most part, I don't have near the hypertension, and I don't have the low white blood counts, and I don't take thyroid medications. So basically, I don't take any medications at all. So here's my gurus. Dr. Esselstyn is on the left, and Dr. Colin Campbell is on the right. And both of them are cardiologists and talk on their research and what they have learned in, you know, in the field of cardiology as it pertains to the heart. And I met Dr. Esselstyn about 3 months after my aneurysm up in Portland at a it's a Veg Fest conference. But what I can tell you about that was when I met him, just briefly, he entered the room and it was filled with maybe 1,000 doctors and medical people that stood up. And I mean, he was like a rock star. I had no idea he was who he was at the time. I just knew that I needed to go to this conference, and this is where these medical people were getting their CE hours, and I paid to have a seat, and I'm sitting at a table of, you know, 8 other medical professionals, and they're like, "Oh, who are you and what do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm just a consumer, you know, just an everyday person." I didn't have any medical credentials or anything, but again, these people, these men are really at the top of their game when it comes to knowing what they know and what they're teaching and who they're respected and revered by. Some other ones that I follow are here, Dr. Amen. He has Amen clinics down in California and has done thousands of PET scans. He knows what's going on in the brain. He talks on it all the time on OPB. And then Dr. Greger is really kind of the gut guru, or one of them, I would say. You know, there's several coming on the scene now. And then the Food Revolution Network right here, John and Ocean Robbins. John Robbins is the son of Baskin Robbins, and he basically turned away from the, you know, ice cream business and really pursued healthy living and veganism. Oh gosh, I think it's 50 years ago. I think it's been a long time. And his son, Ocean, they together produce this Food Revolution Summit every year, which I'm a big fan of, and I get, you know, all the different doctors that are being interviewed. I get their audio tapes afterwards and I listen to them and learn more from all these other doctors and stuff. So anyways, what I have to share is basically coming from a lot of these sources. It's none of my opinion or you know, something that like I said, I can't back up, and what you can find on the internet. So in the gut, there's over 100 million nerve cells in your stomach alone. And what's fascinating about that is it's a 80% directional highway through your vagus nerve up to your brain. And in the stomach, 95% of your serotonin, which influences the way you feel, it's your feel-good hormone. And you know, just like your oxytocin is your bonding hormone. I mean, you have lots of hormones going on, but fact is if you're going to feel good, it's going to be produced in the gut. It's with serotonin. And when you consider, you know, food coming into the gut and how it affects 70% of your immune system, it's unbelievably essential that you pay attention to what you put in your stomach and what you know, what its nutritional value is and whether or not it's good for your body. The leading causes of death are heart disease, cancers, malignant neoplasms, the respiratory diseases, COPD, asthma, bronchitis, emphysema, cerebral vascular diseases or strokes, aneurysms, you know, the things that I've experienced. And then we just go on down the list. These are all stuff that you recognize, you know, oh yeah, you know, those are terrible deaths and everything. The crazy thing is that all these check marks right here, it's lifestyle created. It is not something you're inherently going to experience just because you were born. You increase the odds by what you eat, you know, that directly affects, you know, the outcome or the epigenetics, basically the triggering of these diseases. And it's all lifestyle choices. You know, if the heart disease is #1 killer, and we pay attention to what Heart Math Institute, you know, teaches us about the heart. I mean, right here, you know, the heart is 100,000 times stronger electrically and is up to 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain. Your heart is literally the receptor of like all of this incoming information in the world. It's not your brain that's figuring this out or, you know, sensing and pulling in information. It's literally your heart. And I think that that's why it's probably the most important organ to like really think about first. Again, not bypassing the stomach, but understanding that on the Vegas highway, the stomach goes past the heart first. And so we want to make sure that, you know, we're taking care of our heart. And let's see here. Yeah, so anyways, when I was talking about the dilemma between the heart and the brain, I choose to think that the heart deserves the highest attention first, as to how we take care of ourselves and heal our bodies and protect our bodies and improve our experience in the world through quality of life, you know, and taking care of our health. So again, the vagus nerve is 80% directional from the stomach to the brain, and it goes this direction. Only 20% of the vagus nerve does the brain actually direct, you know, downward from the body. I find that fascinating as well. And the heart is in charge of, you know, so many parts of your body functioning properly and being healthy. So that brings me to the fact that why I chose the heart, and I'm suggesting that in the arguments where people have said, oh, why don't you eat salmon and sardines, those are good for your brain. And I'm saying, well, first of all, the brain isn't the most important organ, and we have to be concerned with high-fat foods and how that is dangerous to the heart. And if you can accept the fact that the brain manufactures its own cholesterol, which is the essential fatty acid that it needs, and we can get the omega-3s that we need for the other organs through a plant-based lifestyle. It's not essential to get your omega-3s through animal proteins, is my point. So the bottom line is, you know, and Hippocrates said it best, you know, food is thy medicine. Let food be thy medicine. And it's really true. So as we're focusing on the heart right now, Dr. Esselstyn, his, you know, key point in his talk to all the doctors that were in that room with me when I went up for that convention, made it very, very clear that the single most important factor that we have to worry about and concern ourselves with is what is called the endothelial cells. And I'll come to that here in just a minute. And he makes it a point to make the distinction between plant-based versus vegan. And it's right here, is in whole foods plant-based, if you're truly following the diet that he's recommending, because he's a cardiologist, it does not include processed foods or oils. A whole foods plant-based diet is predominantly starchy vegetables and fruits, and then of course whole grains, and then leafy vegetables, legumes, and then a very small portion of what are natural plant fats, avocados, nuts, oil, olives, that kind of thing. It's no oils, no refined oils, none of that. Oh, but olive oil is good for you. It's not. And again, his talk to all of his colleagues is definitely about what it does in the heart, specifically in the endothelial cells, and the way that these animal proteins and sat fats come along, you know, through the vascular system, and basically where you can see how it creates this little blister, and then the flap starts to break loose, and then this becomes a blockage. And that was all corrected in his research. Right here is a damaged vein or vessel, and here is where a whole foods plant-based diet corrected that. So, you know, if you think, oh, I've got to save my brain first, I'd say think again. You got to save your heart first, or, you know, and the truth is if you focus on saving your heart and taking good care of your heart, and listening to the true experts in the industry, like Dr. Esselstyn, and there's several other doctors, Dr. Campbell, and, or excuse me, yeah, Dr. Campbell, and then there's lots of other doctors that will tell you, you know, it damages endothelial cells, and it can be corrected through, you know, whole foods plant-based diet. A lot of, you know, people will say, but where do you get your, you know, protein? And of course, the strongest animals on the planet, you know, the rhinos and the hippopotamus and the, you know, gorillas and everything, they all eat plants. They get their protein just fine. The strongest man in the world is vegan. He's extraordinary. I've seen him. Again, eats plants. Everybody thinks that, you know, there's this big need to have lots of protein. It's not true. You know, you can see from this chart that an average woman, which all of us are here online, you know, is about 46 grams. It's easily achieved through plant nutrition. The places where you can get protein from are pretty much everywhere. These are some examples right here. And here's more vegan protein sources, but what's also interesting to point out is the sources of iron. And so you're not deficient in iron either if you go plant-based. And that's always a concern of omnivores right now. So protein and iron is not in short supply going plant-based. A lot of people, well, here's my little joke, I guess, the got milk and the whole, you know, dairy industry, and the way that it's, you know, said to be a quality protein and a source of protein, and it's very highly touted. And, you know, this is the little brain that says he's disappointed because he's going to learn that cheese is included in the dairy industry, and it's not not something we would encourage you to continue consuming. And the reason is because, well, first of all, if we look at what's in milk, it's pretty disgusting, really. And I'm not trying to gross you out or anything, but this is, you know, this is true. There's You've got a lot of pregnant cows that are being treated constantly for mastitis and, infections. Yeah, there's just a lot of things that go on that aren't being told about milk. And again, it's an animal protein. It damages, the endothelial cells, which just, ends up hurting your heart and then the rest of your body as well. And it causes inflammation in the blood. That's the thing about animal proteins, is it causes inflammation in the blood. So it's just animal protein across the board is just not encouraged if you're going to have good health. Dr. Campbell did a study in China, and it was pretty fascinating because it basically showed where they could literally take dairy and turn up the amount of dairy in the diet and trigger cancer. And then the minute they turn the dairy back down, the cancer was, in remission, or let's say, not being triggered. It was pretty fascinating. His research is, unbelievably convincing, if you ask me, that dairy is a problem. So here's a little bit more on the dairy, on the research. It's the casein in the dairy, and so milk protein, casein, but not wheat protein, gluten, promoted cancer, is what they discovered. And then when I've had people who really want to fight for their dairy and they just have a hard time accepting that they can't, that it's really not a good idea, I usually send them to this 8-minute video that is right here on YouTube. And it's, to me, one of the most convincing, short, and to the point videos that Dr. Tuttle put on YouTube, that I just think, you know what? These are the facts, and this is what you need to know. And, at that point, if it doesn't change your mind, I don't know what will, but it's truly a thing to avoid. So the way that I would tie this all together and say, why is going vegan so critical to the topic of, say trauma and someone suffering and wanting, to heal. And it all comes down to self-care. It's all about, what can I do for myself to improve my circumstance? And, we eat 3 times a day. So if you can have a choice over what you put in your mouth, that's going to have all of these amazing, benefits to it, from what goes on in your gut to what goes on in your heart to what goes on in your brain, and then ultimately what happens in your mood and your ability to feel good from the inside out. That in itself can change your entire experience and quality of life, and your worldview, and the way that, even the way that your brain is functioning. Like if you are struggling in, say, a traumatic experience that you're ruminating on, the more you put good food into your stomach and the more that you add, the nutritious foods that create the, the serotonin and the transmitters in your brain, you know, that improve all of that. Everything about that is a win-win. And so in self-care, I think that the very first step to you know, your quality of life and improving your situation is nourish your body. And then of course, here on the list, you see all the additional, you know, things that we want to, you know, care about. Stay hydrated, get lots of sleep and rest, move every day, practice mindfulness, you know, be in nature, express gratitude, inform or affirm the importance of creativity, play, humor, and love. Welcome opportunities for empathy, compassion, kindness, radical acceptance, and receiving and giving support, and create healthy boundaries through discernment. So again, when I think of healing yourself, the one thing that you can proactively do, you know, every day is to be mindful and nourish your body with the best food, knowing that it's a compounding effect. I mean, that is self-care, that is self-love, and ultimately it's wellness and it's balance for body, mind, and spirit. So that's what I have to share today. And I apologize if it was a little disconnected or clunky at times. Like I said, I have a hard time staying on track, so hopefully my slides helped. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to come back to, I guess, questions and answers. So,
thank you, Sunny.
Yeah.
That was fascinating, by the way.
Yes.
Really.
Well,
good
I apologize. I'm not used to not seeing all of you, so I was like, you know, kind of blinded by like the weirdness of it all. So I'll get used to that.
No, you did great. I
You did
loved your
wonderful.
slides. Those slides were amazing.
Yeah.
Really chock full of great information. Something that stood out to me because about the got milk thing, it's amazing that that is pushed so much, but it's milk does a body good. That was their other big campaign, right? Milk does a body good. And we've also been told that it has more calcium, like, right, drink milk because it's got calcium for your bones. But actually you can get your calcium from plant-based diets, the green, you know, spinach, broccoli, you know, you can get more calcium from those types of things and more bioavailable to your body than milk.
Yeah. I meant
so
to put
it is very
calcium in there.
Yeah.
in the discussion, and I just got to, you know, to where I was like, oh, I got to stop at some point.
Yeah. But I mean, because I've even heard about the studies or whatever about like even Scandinavian countries that, again, they're touted, you know, drink milk for your bones, the health of your bones. They actually have more osteoporosis. And that includes us here in the United States. There's actually more osteoporosis, even though they're, again, touting that milk or dairy with the cheese is for your bones, you know, when you really could get actually it through a plant-based diet. So I've heard that.
Yeah.
So
good.
yeah, really good information. Really good.
Very
It was
good.
amazing, Sunny. I will stay off the picture, but I'm looking forward to really to learn more and to grow along with you, to keep learning. It is fascinating. I'm really, really grateful for this presentation. It was amazing.
I really feel like it's a three-part presentation because when I showed you the 30,000-foot view, you know, of the big triangle, there's so much more to learn and understand about the environment and then animal welfare and ethics. Once you put those three things together, it's like, okay, I'm committed to my health. Got it. Now I'm committed to the environment. Okay, got it. And then once I'm committed to the well-being of other sentient life, you know, then it's like click and it all comes together and it's like there's no turning back. It's like if you can't get your full commitment on board, there's something else that still needs to connect for you. You know what I mean? Where you, like, if there's anything that's still hanging you up, it's usually in one of those other areas. And then once you get that resolved in your head, because like for me, I walk around and it doesn't matter if the smell of bacon still smells good to me. You know what I mean? I just instantly think of the things that I've already seen and know. And it's like, nope, you know, it does. I've been conditioned like everybody else. I grew up eating, you know, all these foods, and, you know, something that I don't think about too often anymore, but it was also another really aha moment for me, was that I loved cheese. Oh my gosh. I mean, cheese was like my preferred food all day long. Well, it took me a lot of, you know, mindful moments to finally get back to an earliest memory when I was little. And it's true. I mean, after my dad had been killed in Vietnam and my mom was working, I used to stand at the window of the louvers at the babysitter's house after preschool, because I was still about 4 years old. And I would stand there and just, you know, bawl my eyes out, right? You know, and waiting for my mom to come pick me up. I didn't want to be there. Well, the lady would get she had those government cheese food 10-pound thingies. She would give me, you know, 2-3 inch chunk, a cut, like, look, it was like a sandwich, you know, it was huge. And I would just stand at the window home, you know, like just like nibbling on this cheese. And once I realized, oh my gosh, I was so conditioned to thinking that was my comfort food. I mean, I'd come home from school every day and make a grilled cheese sandwich before my parents got home. I mean, I did all that as a teenager. It was like, I love cheese. Cheese was my comfort food. Cheese was what, you know, gave me solace. And I find that interesting that it's like I had to really undo, you know, some of those early conditions, you know. And it was like, it just doesn't matter. Cheese is so high fat and it hurts your heart. And, you know, if you're lucky enough to survive, you know, a heart attack or an aneurysm, in my case, then you just, yeah, fats just don't get to.
That's definitely a motivator, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
And
one
it's
of the
sad
questions.
that we get to that point, you know, before we make that change, you know. Sometimes it
Yeah.
takes something like that. In your case, like what you're sharing, it took
Yeah.
that for you to go, you know, and then putting the other pieces of that triangle together for you, the environment, the animals, you know, that type of thing.
Sure. All the other pieces, you know, as you start to develop the compassion for yourself, then becomes the ability to have that compassion for other sentient life. Because, I mean, it really is interesting when you see really traumatic things, you know, happening in the animal agriculture and industry and stuff. And it's like, okay, no, I cannot be a participant of that anymore. You know, that just doesn't work for me on a soul level, you know. So who knows, it might be our ancestors too. I mean, we just don't know how we're going to come back this next life.
The fact is that we must begin within ourselves, kind of hide into saving somebody else's life, even if it is animal or nature or anything, that we must really save ourselves at first to be able to save everything around us.
Yes.
And to have a clarity and be clean as best as we can.
Yes, and that's why I use that small trifecta, because once you really dial in on your own body, mind, and spirit, you know, you have to have that self-love and that self-care first. before you can really have it for anybody else. And so even when a person is traumatized and suffering from what's been inflicted upon them and what is tormenting them, that kind of thing, the biggest tool that they could have in their toolbox is, oh my gosh, I have control over how I take care of myself, you know? And that is the big, and so eating every day is that one huge self-empowering thing, you know? And then of course, meditation and resting, you know, sleeping well and things like that. But those are the biggies. Those are the things that you really want to promote for everybody. I mean,
I'm gonna speak. Hi.
Yeah.
My
Hi.
name's Devin. I'm not sure if it shows my name in
Yeah.
the box, but
It does.
I hadn't made the connection before between self-compassion and being compassionate towards, like, I mean, other beings, but not just human beings, but animals. And I noticed that kind of at this season of my life, like, I'm developing that skill, or I'm kind of moving into a place of doing from self-compassion, and that eating is a huge part of that. And like you shared, you know, that cheese being your comfort food. Food for me has been the one way I've been able to show self-compassion. But like kind of getting into the traumas and what's been beneath that, or that, like, I don't know, that seeing food, you know, and for me it was dairy, like milk and cheese as this like mothering food or source of nourishment, and having that start to shift as I like kind of go into more layers of self-compassion, and having my relationship with what my body wants or needs change, and feeling like, okay, it is greens, it is fruit, like that actually nourishes me, is so amazing. But like having you put it into words, like the more self-compassionate you are, the more compassion you have for these other beings. And so like the food that nourishes you is different, you know, as you like just, I guess, start to love yourself more and have more, I don't know, kindness, or like more of a resource of love for yourself, and you're able to spread it more, I guess. And that can be done through food or other mediums too, but that just really caught my attention or set in. So thank you for that.
well, and thank you,
for
Dylan, for
sharing.
saying so, because it's really true. The more that you can show yourself, the more you will have to give, you know, out to the world. It's a little bit of a painful juxtaposition, because once you really start caring about your health and wellness, then you start really seeing the atrocities out in the world. But that's a whole nother, you know, thing. But yeah, developing more compassion is never a bad thing.
Thank you, Devin, for sharing that. I'm so glad you
Yeah.
popped
Yes.
in. Because one other thing, and I know we're running out of time here, but something, you know, going back to, you know, childhood memories and the comfort food, even my mom was German. I mean, so she said, oh, butter and milk, those are brain food, and those are so good for your nervous system. And
Yeah.
so I always just grew up knowing that. So it's part of an educational process, right? So that's what this is too. But now that deeper level, to what Sunny and you, Devin, said about that compassion, and really thinking about that, and what is that for you? You know,
Right.
each
And that's
individual,
why
what is
I
that for
was
you?
trying to give all the hard facts about, you know, why would you want to take care of your gut, your heart, and your brain? You know, seriously, I mean, you got to have the math and the science there. I mean, if you know that animal protein causes inflammation, and inflammation is the single most factor when it pertains to cancers and, you know, heart disease and all of that stuff, to me, that's just like, oh my gosh, why would I ever inflict that upon myself? You know, you don't go out and snort cocaine, you know, because, well, I just want to, you know. I mean, you know, again, we don't do things because we don't want to harm ourselves. So, you know, once you really connect all the scientific, you know, things that are going on inside of your body, when you ingest something. And that's the thing about trauma too, is, so we think of trauma being like what's ingested in the brain, what the brain and the psyche has been affected by. We also see trauma as, you know, what's been inflicted upon the body, you know, like an accident. But we also see trauma as trauma inside the gut, you know, through toxic food, And that's in dead animals is toxic food. And again, we can prove that with lots of research and other stuff, you know. So or animal protein. I said it kind of.
And it's all true, that especially that gut brain connection, because that is, they're linking it to anxiety, depression, things like that.
Yes.
But what we say at Haelan House, and again, I keep saying we got to wrap it up, but at Haelan House, we love people where they're at, you know, and if we can educate them just to take baby steps, even, you know, Sunny, you took baby steps to get to where you're at. And so that's what we want to do here at Haelan House, give them these educational talks so that they have food for thought, you know what I mean, to really start on that journey, you know, that process of, you know, the healing process, whatever that is for them. So, yeah, I think this was amazing.
Baby steps are ones that you want to take quickly, and many of them quickly, and take in as much information as you possibly can that is in support of a vegan lifestyle. You know, whether it's reading books, watching videos. I have a whole list of videos that will absolutely shape your thinking and help you. And I mean, just like that Dr. Tuttle video that I mentioned, it's an 8-minute video. It's, you definitely want to start ingesting the right information quickly, you know, yeah. Because the one leg in, one leg out, you won't be successful. You really do want to turn the corner as fast as you can.
All right. Thank you, Sunny. Does anyone else have any other questions before we go? Sonia? No? Okay. Well, Sunny, thank you so much for this enlightening conversation and information. For the rest of you on here, we'll have other educational programs once a month. Next month is the healing spiritual trauma. So watch for that. And the Healing Trauma Conference is coming up on May 1st and 2nd with a special kickoff speaker on April 30th. So if you're interested in participating in that, you can still get tickets at thehealingtraumaconference.com. So we'd love to see you there.
Would you like me to provide a list of vegan documentaries and that 8-minute video?
Sure, yeah, why don't you, the link is fine for that video, because I can just put it, this is going to go on to the Haelan House website. So that's haelanhouse.org. And it is under all of the educational programs. So I can include anything that you want to include on that page.
Okay.
And we'll send it out to the meetup,
So,
the members of our meetups too.
Yeah.
So this will all go out. This is great. Good.
Thank you, Sunny. Very, very good information, and wonderful that you took charge of your health and your spirit and everything, and saw a huge change. So that's, not everybody is always open to that. So that took a lot of courage. So
I also want to offer, if you want me to prepare a part B and a part C, or a part 2 and part 3, I can address the environmental and the animal welfare one too, if you're ever interested.
Okay.
So
great. Thanks very much, everyone.
Okay.
thank you.
Later.
Bye.
Thank you all.